fight is for our values. The fight is for working people. The fight right now is against Donald Trump and the billionaires who bought this country.
That is Ken Martin. Over the weekend, he won election to be new chairman of the Democratic National Committee. Our Hunter Woodall followed this story very well for CBS News. He joins me now. How did Ken Martin win, Hunter?
Major, this was a really odd and compelling race, but I have to remind folks, this was a race where only about, around a little over 400 Democrats were actually voting. So, you've had more people probably vote in small city council, elections in some places. Ken Martin was able to win this because he's a longtime state party chair. He has relationships across the party, and I remind people who are saying, who is this guy? He's overseen a party that covers a span from Ilhan Omar, progressive, to Amy Klobuchar, more of a centrist moderate Democrat in Minnesota. So he's built an interesting coalition as a state party chair, and he was able to do that effectively in this race.
So what is he, a progressive or a moderate?
He's somebody who wants to win, and that's the best way I can describe him, because, he can say some days, oh, I'm a progressive, I feel this way, but he's also somebody who, as state party chair in Minnesota, they have not lost a statewide race since he took over as state party chair, I believe, back in 2011. That's a winning streak that was able to kind of propel him forward. He looks at ideology, but he's all about kind of turning out those voters and making sure that Democrats have the best chance to win.
Hunter Woodall, thank you very much. I want to bring in our political panel. Justin Sayfie is a Republican strategist who served as a senior advisor to Jeb Bush. We all remember Jeb Bush. Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist, senior advisor to Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns. Chuck, I miss having you here at the table because I know I'm in the presence of greatness when I see that big cowboy hat. What you're doing in New York, I don't even want to begin to ask, but I'm glad you're with us. Chuck, you considered running for the position Ken Martin just won. What's your takeaway now that the decision's been made by the DNC?
I was down there on Saturday before I come up to the big city of New York City Saturday. On Saturday, I was down there, and I got to watch the whole thing unfold. Here's a few things that stuck with me, and I've been a Democrat, a yellow dog Democrat, for 35 years, is that I would remind everybody that I think there's a little bit of a change happening, which is a good thing in the Democratic Party. The fellow who lost, and the good state party chairman from Wisconsin, Ben Wickler, was endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, Congressman Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer, and 3 of the biggest labor unions in America, and he lost. That should tell you a lot about the Democratic Party, Major. You've been covering the Democratic Party for a long time, and those are some big names. And normally those folks who come together, they don't lose, and they lost. So I think Ken Martin may be changing this thing for a change, not for the better or worse. Nothing against Nancy Pelosi or Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. Please still hire me. But I will tell you that I think that something's going on in the Democratic Party, and there's a lot of people that's fed up.
And briefly, Chuck, that thing that's going on, what do you think it might be?
That we've been doing the thing the same way for a long time. And it's like my granddaddy said, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, you're a fool if you think it's going to change.
Got it. Justin, I want to talk to you about the big headline-grabbing confirmation hearings last week, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel. Specifically, Tulsi Gabbard. The president was asked about Tulsi today. Sitting behind the Resolute desk, he says, I don't guarantee anything. But she's up there. Again, an opportunity to weigh in, to tell Senate Republicans, hey, rally around Tulsi. Didn't do it. Do you think she's in any trouble?
Well, she's going to have a vote in the Senate committee tomorrow. And if 1 or 2 Republicans don't vote to support her, the Democrats are united against her. I think it's a toss-up, quite honestly. The president not coming out and giving her that strong backing. I think there's some allies of his in the Senate that have some serious reservations of her. And there was a lot of concern about the fact that she did not call Edward Snowden, who shared some of the top secrets of the United States publicly. She did not refer to him as a traitor. That was a big sticking point for a lot of Republicans.
The president was asked about that, and he didn't weigh in on that at all. He just said, I don't get involved. Again, kind of an opportunity to throw her a lifeline. One was not thrown, at least to my ear. Is that the way you heard it?
That's the way I heard it, too. And so it's going to be up to the Senate. And again, I think President Trump should get credit for allowing the Senate to do its deliberative process and allowing them to make their decision.
What about RFK Jr.?
RFK Jr. took some heated questions, But I think he will be confirmed. I think he'll be confirmed ultimately. There's not that same level of concern amongst Republicans that there was with Tulsi Gabbard. And, typically there's always one person for every administration, Democrat or Republican, that doesn't make it through the process. It's really hard for the Senate not to confirm two nominees of any president from any party. So if Tulsi Gabbard is, for some reason, isn't confirmed, I think that increases the likelihood that RFK Jr. isn't.
You know Susie Wiles
confirmed.
well. You're experienced in Florida politics. Evaluate her first couple of weeks, not President Trump's, but Susie's, as chief of staff,
well, look,
so everyone understands.
Well, Susie's one of her many, many strengths is that she stays behind the scenes. She famously did take the microphone when it was offered to her by President-elect Trump on election night. And so I think she's done a great job. The president is off to a good start with the executive orders and all the other actions he's taken. The situation with Colombia, forcing Colombia to take back their citizens. The negotiation, we heard the news today about Mexico is going to send thousands of troops to help secure the southern border of the United States. President Trump is racking up some wins, and I think that she's been supportive of the president and his team, allowing them all to do their jobs.
Chuck, it's never too early to imagine a presidential campaign. You know that. The Washington Post had a story over the weekend name-checking 12 Democrats who might be worthy of consideration. I know it's way too early to ask this question, so I won't ask who's the front runner. That's ridiculous. But as Democrats try to figure out the way forward, what's the most important thing to do? Strategically and legally block President Trump or begin to campaign for the nomination?
Major, me and you've been on the campaign trail a lot, and you know there's two things that these folks have to do. You have to give the American people a reason to fire the Republican Party and Donald Trump. But you also, and this is the part that Democrats have been missing, you have to give people a reason to hire you. It's good enough to just say, we thought it was good enough just to say, Donald Trump is crazy, and all kinds of crazy stuff's going to happen in Washington, D.C., a la what's happening right now. But then you have to pivot and say, but this is our vision for America, and our vision is better. And you're going to start seeing more and more of these quote-unquote front runners, some of which may or may not have already called good old Chuck Rocha. But let them know that you've got to get out there and distinguish yourself right now.
And, Chuck, over the weekend, Rahm Emanuel, someone I know you know well, I know well, wrote a piece in the Washington Post saying, Democrats love to talk about kitchen table economic issues, but they don't talk about other things that bother Americans: homelessness, culture, crime. Agree?
Yes, and you got to get out there and get some scuffs on you. The Republican Party has done a great job at messaging to people, making them think that they feel their pain. I don't think they feel it at all. Democrats have to do a better job of old Bill Clinton looking into the camera and going, I feel your pain.
Chuck Rocha in New York doing God knows what. Justin Sayfie here at the table, safe and secure. Thank you both.